Hello and welcome to the Larson Hicks Show. It's good to be back recording a podcast. I don't know how long it's been. It's maybe been a year, maybe more since I've recorded just a solo episode. So I'm going to try to kill two birds with one stone here and get back on the horse and record an episode, but B, talk about something I've been wanting to talk about for a minute, and this seems like the right place to do it. What I want to talk about is this idea that we're all Baptists and we should stop pretending to be otherwise. So what do I mean by that? Basically, I'm saying that, let me start by saying I love the CREC. I am a CREC guy. I lived in Moscow, Idaho for 12 years where kind of the CREC started. I love our people. I love our churches. I'm all about it. I'm like fully bought in, 110% on the whole mission of the CREC. So that's not at all where this is coming from. What I'm more wanting to talk about today is a little bit of frustration, let's say, about my people, about the CREC, and about our approach to some things. And so this isn't really an argument against, like a theological argument either. I'm not really frustrated with any of the theology in our wings. So here's the main thing I want to focus on is just the idea that in America, especially in the South, we're all Baptists, and what I mean by that is Southern Baptist Church won culturally in America. That's the identity. That's kind of the default identity of Christians in America, especially evangelical Protestant Christians. And so that tradition has formed, the instincts, the expectations, the muscle memory, let's say, of most of the American church, and that's especially true of the CREC. So, like everyone in the CREC, whether they're a pastor or a member, was a Baptist about 5 minutes ago. So that's who we are. That's our identity. That's our heritage. And like really to a man, I mean, go to almost any CREC church in the country, go to almost any pastor in the CREC church in the country, and they grew up Baptist. And the thing that frustrates me is that we are acting like that's not the case. I'm frustrated that's an identity or a heritage that we are somehow embarrassed about, or we're trying to kind of run from. So you can change your theology, but fairly quickly. That's something that people do. But I don't think that culture moves that quickly. There's a lot slower process to changing kind of your identity and history and traditions and those kinds of things. So let me try to explain, kind of build up to this argument a little bit. So let's talk about like hospitality, right? People know when they visit your house whether what they're getting is the real thing, like the real experience of your family and your culture, or if it's an act. We've all done this. You've gone over to someone's house and everyone's acting really weird and really different and unnatural, and you're like, I feel like we're observing more of a show and more of a performance than we are getting a sense of who these people are. And I experience this a lot because I'm an elder at a church, and I'm frequently doing kind of house visits for especially new members. And so, you're going over there with the hope that you're going to get a sense of who this family is. And frequently that's the case, but a lot of times you're getting this weird kind of stilted vibe. And so like an example or a metaphor maybe is like if you're a normal American family, you've got a little bit of a messy house, dinner looks like meatloaf or chicken nuggets or, normal stuff. But then like when you have guests over, suddenly you're like breaking out the china and like white gloves and you've got like everyone's donning this like fake British accent or something and pretending like, you're British aristocracy or something. And you break out the china and everything else. And And when you invite someone over and you try to give them this like experience of this British aristocracy, it's like everyone knows it's a show, and frankly it ends up kind of killing the hospitality and really the purpose of hospitality. So when you start pretending, I think the aroma in your home starts to change. I'll give a real life counterpoint to that. My mom in Texas hosts this weekly Taco Tuesday at her house, and she's got a lot of grandkids and a big family, and so it's the same people, it's the same food. There's a liturgy, there's a ritual, there's a pattern to what they do every week, and the family loves it. It's part of who they are. It's their identity. You got kids and adults, and you've got like a pattern for how they do it. It's like a buffet line or whatever. My mom, fries up the tortilla shells, taco shells. And when people come over to visit, they're stepping into something real. They come, like they'll have visitors over, and without fail, people are like, wow, this is really cool. This is really special. This is something I want to be a part of. I can feel the warmth. I can feel the love, the hospitality. I wish I had a family like this. I wish I could be a part of a family like this. It's because it's beautiful, but it's because it's real. It's not a show. This is what they do every week, regardless of whether there's visitors. Again, if they were to break ranks, or break the pattern because people are coming over and try to do something more formal and more impressive, it would completely change, I think, the vibe and the impact that visitor would have. And so I think people don't fall in love with like perfection. They fall in love with something that's real and genuine, authentic. So I give those examples because I think they're good metaphors for what's happening in worship. In the CREC, we are big on this idea that the Lord's table is a feast. We say, every Sunday, come and welcome to Jesus Christ. Come to the table of the Lord, and we emphasize joy and cheerfulness and people making eye contact with each other and this like passing of the peace idea. So that's an idea that it's in our bones that we really believe. We believe that hospitality is part of God's character, and the Lord's table demonstrates that. And that we need to push that into our homes. Like we need to be hospitable in our own homes and around our own tables. But the thing that's frustrating to me, and this is really where I want to camp out, is that I think as much as we love feasting, we love the idea of joy and feasting and hospitality, and worship as being a part of that, so many of our worship services in the CREC are wildly inhospitable. And by that I mean that there's this performative kind of thing that's going on. There's this desire to give this perfect liturgical experience. And somehow that is going to be the thing that really makes your church successful or impactful on the community or whatever. And what I've experienced and what I think is true is that it becomes this very awkward experience, not only for the members of the church, but especially for visitors. And so, just like in the metaphor of my mom's Taco Tuesday dinner, it's like there's this vibrant, joyful, dinner. But when we have visitors, we're gonna ramp it up and do this very different sort of thing, and it just feels fake. And I don't think it is hospitable or welcoming. And so I feel like a lot of worship services in the CREC are almost like a dare. It's like, I dare you to try to sit here and make it all the way through, this service without just hating it and getting up and leaving. It's like if you can survive this worship service full of like super difficult, unfamiliar songs weird chanting stuff that you've never done or experienced and have no one in your history of your family has ever done or experienced. A sermon that's super dry, nothing like a Baptist church sermon, that's usually got a lot more passion and better rhetorical delivery. But also sermons are really heavy in this niche CREC jargon. Let's talk about presuppositionalism or paedo communion or postmillennialism or whatever the jargon stuff that we're interested in talking about. Let's just lay all that stuff on, or just in general, the sermon's going to be just full of all of these theological terms that nobody's familiar with, or philosophical terms that nobody's familiar with. It's the dare is if you can make it through all of that and you want to come back, well, congrats, you've passed the test. Now you too are qualified to be able to pretend like you like this. And I feel like it's almost like a hazing, it's not hospitality. It's not even really discipleship. It's like a hazing. It's like we all, even though this is wildly unfamiliar to all of us, we're all in it together. We're all gonna pretend like we like this and like it's natural. And so that's kind of my frustration in the CREC. And I think there's an important clarification that I'm not at all interested in this seeker sensitive idea. And in fact, I think that the reason why there's such an opportunity for the CREC right now in the world is the whole seeker sensitive movement. I think our grandparents' churches, are kind of the model that we all sort of grew up with when we were little, and we all saw in our lifetime. I saw in my lifetime the seeker sensitive thing kind of totally transform Baptist churches into these rock concerts and fog machines, and it's like more of a TED Talk sermon, and we got to have a coffee shop, and we got to do a big youth group thing. And I think over time people were like, this doesn't feel like church. This just doesn't we're trying to be relevant. We're trying to make church and God attractive to non-churched people or to sinners who don't really want to change their lives. And that's not the church we grew up with, and it doesn't feel right. And so I think that it's really the fake relevance that has driven people away. But I think that, we're kind of overreacting into this fake reverence, where we're trying to make church, make this liturgical service that is just really perfect and pristine and difficult, but we're supposed to pretend like we love it, and it's something we're really comfortable with and used to. So here's what I'm arguing for, basically, is I just think that we need to be, as churches, natural and honest, be who we actually are. We are American evangelicals. Our church, what feels right and normal and good to us, is a lot like our grandparents' Baptist church. Yes, it's going to be reformed. There's going to be some emphasis and some growth, from what our grandparents' church taught. But it's still going to feel recognizable. It's going to still feel like home to us first and foremost, but also to visitors. When visitors come, it's going to be oh, I'm stepping into something familiar. I'm stepping into a church service. Whereas, I think about my grandpa. My grandpa visited our church when we lived up in Idaho, and he enjoyed it. I think he enjoyed the sermon. I think he liked the worship service. I think, frankly, he probably liked it more than what he was seeing in a lot of Baptist churches at that time. The only thing he stumbled on was that we used the word Catholic in our creed when we recited the creed, and I remember him circling it and being nervous about it. But that's an easy fix, and I think good churches, hospitable churches, correct that. They put a little asterisk next to the word Catholic, and they put, hey, this is how we're using this word. This is what it means. This is what it doesn't mean. And I think that's a great way to honor your fathers and to invite people in and be hospitable. and not make church feel like this completely foreign experience or foreign country for people. So yeah, I just want to encourage folks to stop LARPing. I think that, again, there's this temptation to want like the perfect liturgy now. There's this like Gnostic Platonic impulse that like we're going to figure out the perfect liturgy and we're going to implement it now, and forgetting the actual time and place and people that God's given you or placed you in. So it's kind of this over-immanentizing the eschaton. I think there's a good instinct and desire that I've heard from folks in our camp that like we want to see the church united, and that includes the Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church. And I think one of the ways that people are trying to kind of force that today is like, let's adopt more and more of the Catholic liturgy or the Eastern Orthodox liturgy, and we're gonna help usher in sort of greater unity that way. And I would just say, like, I have no idea what the future of the church looks like. And part of a lot of what I think is going to happen is that the Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church are going to move more and more in our direction, are going to feel and look more like we do. But we're also going to look very different than we are today. I think we're living in the early church still, and old isn't better. Old is, in a lot of ways, the further back you go, the more heresy, the more immaturity. The early church was the baby church, and so the church should be growing in glory. It doesn't mean we dishonor our fathers. We bring all the treasure and the inheritance that we've got, but we're also growing and building, and it's changing. But it's changing. We have to move at the speed of the flock. We can't outkick our coverage and try to go way out further than our people can really keep up with. So I just worry that we're doing this kind of LARPing, this like church history LARPing kind of thing, or like we're gonna look and feel like an Anglican church or a Catholic church, even though that's not what any of our people came from, and it's not what any of the people that we live in the community that we live in are used to or have any interest in. But we're just going to LARP anyway, and we're going to have this like perfect liturgy, even if we have a totally empty church. So, yeah, I'm not in Geneva, I'm not in Rome, I'm not in Canterbury, I'm not in Byzantium or whatever, Byzantine. I'm an American evangelical, Southern Baptist. I'm the son of a Southern Baptist, and he was a son of a Southern Baptist. Like, that's my heritage. That's who I am. I don't have amnesia about my past or where I came from. I'm interested in reforming it, which looks like just faithfulness over time. I'm not interested in overhauling it or pretending like that's not who I am or where I came from. And ultimately, I think that if I were to try to, people would see through it anyway, and it would come off as inauthentic, unreal, disingenuous. And so I just think reform doesn't mean pretending you're something else. It just means you're being faithful, to carry the baton forward that you were handed by your parents and by your grandparents. You play the cards you're dealt faithfully. You don't uproot your life. You stay in the soil that God's planted you in. And so that's my encouragement to the CREC in general is, again, I love the CREC. I also love the Southern Baptist Church. I love Baptists. Those are my people. That's where I came from. That's who I am. And I'm thrilled that God's given me an opportunity to be sort of a missionary to my people. I'm here in Huntsville, Alabama. This is like where the Bible Belt buckles. This is like the heart of the Southern Baptist Bible Belt world, and I love these people. These are my people, and I am not interested at all in trying to run out into some future that I imagine, is going to look more Roman Catholic or Eastern Orthodox, and abandon these people. Like I'm interested in a church that that is for these people and that feels right and normal and good, and where we can welcome these people in and them not walk in and just feel like, oh, this is definitely not for me. I don't speak this language. I don't know any of these songs. I don't even know how to sing like this. Like I want these people to show up and feel like this feels right and good. And yeah, there were some interesting things. Some of the songs or psalms that were sung were unfamiliar but really beautiful, and it was delightful to see all the kids in the service, and the sermon was really great. It was really powerful, and so yeah. Anyway, there's my call to the CREC, just to it's a call to hospitality. Think about your worship service as an opportunity to be hospitable to the community that God's put you in, and think about whether or not you're accomplishing that. Like, is your church a place where Southern Baptists can come in and feel welcomed, or do they feel like a complete fish out of water, and they feel like they walked into a home where people are putting on a show that's not really natural or real or normal, even to them. So anyway, there you go. I hope that came across well. I hope that my point was clear. I'd love to hear feedback or pushback. But yeah, this is something that I've thought a lot about as we've planted a church here in Huntsville, and God's been really kind. There's been a lot of fruit, and we've grown pretty rapidly. We're starting our second campus because we've outgrown the space we're in, and we're thrilled. We're hoping that this is going to be the beginning of lots of church plants in Huntsville, and but as far as the CREC is concerned, I think we're probably on the much lower end of the spectrum in terms of liturgy, and a lot of that's very, very intentional. It's not that we are not aware of how high and glorious and beautiful the liturgies are in other churches. We're fully aware of those things, but we are committed to not leaving our community behind in our pursuit of perfection, of a perfect liturgy. So I hope that helps, and God bless, and look forward to seeing you next time. All right, bye.